Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere quietly strange together. You're lying there in your own bed, phone or laptop glowing, maybe still thinking about emails, bills, and whatever nonsense filled your notifications today. But in a few minutes, all of that is going to feel very far away, because we're drifting back to a world where milk wasn't just a drink in your fridge, it was basically money. If you ever complain about your paycheck now, wait until you hear about a time when a bad milking day could ruin your whole year. Honestly, you probably wouldn't survive one winter out there. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're awake enough, drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I love seeing this sleepy little map of the world light up. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You let your eyes rest a little heavier, and the glow of your room softens. The faint hum of modern life fades, air conditioner, traffic, someone's TV in the distance, and a different kind of sound seeps in. It's the long, low rush of ocean wind. You don't see it yet, but you feel it on your skin, colder, sharper, tasting like salt and ash. When you breathe in, your lungs fill with air that has crossed nothing but water and rock for hundreds of miles. You are standing now on the edge of an island at the top of the North Atlantic, even if your body is still tucked under your blanket. Under your boots. Yes, somehow you have sturdy medieval boots now. The ground is uneven, a mixture of rock and springy turf. The sky is big, heavy, and low. Clouds drift past like slow ships, hiding and revealing a pale wash of stars. Far off, you hear the deep crash of waves hitting cliffs, and closer, the soft, restless murmur of animals. This is Iceland in the Middle Ages. By the time you arrive, it has already been settled for a few centuries. Long ago, ships came here out of Norway and the British Isles, looking for land and freedom, and probably underestimating how miserable the wind could be. They brought their families, their animals, their stories, and a very basic problem. How do you stay alive on an island with almost no trees, very little grain, and winters that feel like they last half your life? You pull your cloak tighter, not your hoodie, an actual wool cloak that smells faintly of sheep and smoke. Ahead of you, on a slope above a dark river, a small orange glow marks a farmhouse. A long, low building half buried in the earth, its turf walls cut from stacked grass and soil, its mossy roof blending into the hillside, so well it looks like the hill itself just opened an eye. You start walking toward it, and you notice how soft the ground feels. The short, tough grass hides mud and stones. Your breath leaves your mouth in pale streaks. Somewhere to your left, a cow snorts, and you hear the dull clink of a bell. It hits you slowly that out here, animals aren't cute background scenery. They are the difference between full bellies and empty ones. Every cow is a bank account on hooves, every udder a little leather wallet that has to pay for everything. In your world, money is numbers on a screen, a plastic card, maybe a few crumpled bills in your pocket. Here, coins exist, but they're rare enough that most people might go their whole lives only seeing a little silver on special occasions. What they can count on, what they measure their wealth and their obligations with, is milk, and everything they can transform milk into: butter, cheese, thick tangy skyr, and even strange dried lumps of sour milk that last through the dark months. You wrinkle your nose, because the air doesn't smell like the bright, cold dairy aisle you're used to. It's thicker, more alive. There's the sour edge of fermenting whey, the fat richness of butter somewhere near a fire, and the animal warmth of cows that have been standing in their barn all day. A modern grocery store would look sterile and artificial to these people, and from your side, their world feels messy, improvised, and completely dependent on the weather's mood. One odd little detail slips into your awareness. Somewhere in the yard, someone has left a wooden tub full of cloudy liquid near a doorway. It's not water. It's sour whey, the leftover from making cheese and skyr. Out here, people use it to preserve meat, to pickle things, even sometimes to clean. It's like a one-stop medieval multi-purpose product, the kind of thing that would have a 12 in one label if it were on your store shelf. Historians still debate whether people loved the taste or just tolerated it because the calories meant survival. The wind picks up and rattles the grass, and you feel a little tug of anxiety in your chest that doesn't quite belong to you. Out here, if the grass fails, the animals thin, the milk weakens, and suddenly there is less butter, less skier, fewer coins to pay rent and debts. It's like watching your paycheck shrink every time the clouds decide to be in a bad mood. Somewhere deep inside the turf house, someone laughs, low and tired, but real. You can just make out the shape of a doorway now, a darker shadow inside the dark, lined with rough wood. Smoke drifts out in a thin, blue ribbon, carrying with it a smell of meat stew and something faintly sour and milky. You realize that on this island, comfort is measured in how much food you have tucked away, how much warmth your walls can hold, and how steady your animals are on their feet. You take another step toward that glow, feeling the island settle around you like a heavy wool blanket. Out here, in a place where milk is currency and cows are your ATM, you are about to walk into a world that runs on routines as quiet and relentless as the tide. The door ahead creaks open just a little wider, and a line of gold light spills onto the grass, inviting you in. You step through the door, and instantly, the warmth wraps around you like an old, familiar hug. The house inside is dark, but not cold. The air smells of wood smoke, earthy wool, and the tang of dairy. There's a small fire in the center of the room, casting flickering shadows on the walls where sheepwool blankets are hung, drying out from the morning's wash. The crackle of the fire almost drowns out the steady, rhythmic sound of someone stirring a pot. The dim light reveals the worn faces of those who live here, their eyes deep-set and steady, weathered by the endless days spent fighting the elements. In the corner, a woman is kneading dough, her hands moving in practiced, confident motions. To her right, a man is stirring a large cauldron, the thick, comforting scent of stew wafting through the air. This isn't just food, it's survival. It's warmth for the body and soul, all cooked down from the milk of their animals. You hear a soft moo from outside. The cows, the most valuable members of this household, are close. In the middle of the room, there's a long table covered with bowls of cheese, fresh bread, and slabs of butter. The milk here is rich, thick, almost creamy to the point of indulgence. This isn't the pasteurized, sterile kind you might find back home in a modern fridge. This milk has lived a life of its own. It's raw, full of the earth, and speaks of the land it comes from. A voice calls out, interrupting your thoughts. A man enters the room, tall and broad-shouldered, his face covered in a weathered beard. His eyes twinkle with the kind of humor that comes from years of hard work, and he gestures for you to sit at the table. Sit. Have some bread. It's the best in Iceland, or so I like to think. He laughs quietly, the sound full of pride and amusement. As you sit down, the woman at the stove brings over a large bowl of stew and places it in front of you, the steam rising in lazy swirls. You take a bite, and the warmth hits you immediately. It's simple, meat, root vegetables, and herbs, but the richness of the milk in the stew makes it feel like a feast. You realize that this is how it's been for centuries, how it still is today. Milk, in all its forms, is the backbone of this place. It's not just nourishment, it's the economy, the currency, the key to survival. The man joins you at the table, and he tells you stories of the old days when life was harsher, when the land was less forgiving. He talks about the seasons of famine and plenty, how a single bad winter could mean disaster. You know, he says with a chuckle, back in the old days, we didn't just trade goods, we traded milk. You could buy land with it, settle debts, pay for everything from cattle to a wedding feast. You nod, trying to wrap your mind around the idea of milk as currency, the idea of something so simple, so basic, holding that much power. In the modern world, milk is something you buy at the grocery store without a second thought. But here, milk wasn't just a commodity, it was a lifeline. People used to say, he continues, that a man's wealth could be judged by his cow's udders. He grins, clearly enjoying the thought of his wealth being measured in something as absurd as cow milk. If you had cows, you had wealth. If you had milk, you had power. You can't help but laugh at the simplicity of it all, the way the world once revolved around something as humble as milk. But as the man talks, you start to understand. In a land as barren as Iceland, with its unforgiving winters and limited resources, milk became the foundation upon which everything else was built. As you continue eating, you realize that the conversation isn't just about the past, it's also about the present. The man's face grows serious as he talks about the struggles of modern life, the challenges of keeping a farm running with dwindling resources and the changing climate. We may have modern technology now, he says with a sigh, but the land is still the land, and the cows are still the cows. You look around the room, taking in the simplicity of it all, the warmth, the quiet, the steady hum of the fire. You realize that, in many ways, this world hasn't changed much. The value of milk may have shifted, but the essence of survival, the need for warmth, sustenance, and community, remains the same. You finish your stew, the rich flavors lingering on your tongue, and the man refills your bowl without a word, as if the act of sharing food is the most natural thing in the world. For them, it is. The conversation drifts from talk of cows to stories of old Icelandic law, where disputes were settled by men known as the Gore, wise leaders who helped guide their communities through difficult times. The Gore would judge more than just land disputes, the man says, leaning back in his chair. They'd settle things like debts and, yes, even disputes over milk. You'd be surprised how much conflict a single cow could cause. The idea of milk being at the center of such disputes seems absurd, but in this world, it makes perfect sense. Milk wasn't just nourishment, it was the heartbeat of society. Without it, life would be unimaginable. Without it, the economy, the traditions, and even the very laws that bound people together would fall apart. As you sit there, listening to the crackling fire and the soft murmurs of conversation, you begin to realize how deeply interconnected everything is in this place. It's not just about milk. It's about survival, community, and the fragile balance between man and nature. In a world where everything else is uncertain, milk remains the constant. And for these people, that's enough. You finish your meal, and the man stands up, wiping his hands on his trousers. It's a simple life, he says, but it's a good one. We may not have much, but we have enough. You stand as well, stretching your legs and taking one last look at the fire. The warmth and the quiet feel like a strange comfort. As you make your way back outside, the cold night air greets you once more, and you realize that while the world outside may have changed, the heart of Iceland remains the same. You step outside into the crisp night, and the cold air bites at your cheeks, a sharp reminder that the world out here is both beautiful and unforgiving. The farmhouse behind you fades into the shadows, its glow barely visible against the black sky. You breathe deeply, the chill filling your lungs, and listen as the sound of the waves crashing against the rocky shore becomes louder, more pronounced. In front of you, the vast, open land stretches out, broken only by the occasional shadow of a rock or the silhouette of a distant hill. The stars overhead are scattered like diamonds, so close you feel as if you could reach up and pluck them from the sky. It's quiet, too quiet, almost, except for the wind and the soft sound of the animals moving around the barn. This place feels like a world apart, removed from everything you know. The modern world, with its concrete and glass, its noise and rush, seems like a distant dream. Out here, time doesn't pass in hours or minutes. It stretches, thick and slow, like the glaciers that carve the land itself. This is a place where the rhythm of life is dictated by the seasons, by the animals, by the earth. And milk, it seems, is the heartbeat of it all. You walk toward the barn, where the cows are quietly resting, their large bodies huddled together for warmth. The sound of their breath fills the air, a steady, comforting rhythm. In the darkness, you can just make out the shapes of the animals, their eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. They are the true lifeblood of this place. Without them, the community here would cease to exist. As you stand there, watching the cows, a thought strikes you. These animals are far more than just livestock. They are the foundation of everything, of the farm, of the economy, of the very way people survive out here. In a world that can be as harsh as this, the difference between life and death, between abundance and scarcity, comes down to the simple act of milking a cow. You step closer, the cold ground crunching beneath your feet, and reach out to touch one of the cows. Its coat is soft, warm from the body heat of the others. The cow shifts slightly at your touch, but doesn't pull away. It's a strange feeling, standing there in the dark with this creature, feeling the weight of history pressing down on you. Back in the day, this cow's milk would have been traded, bartered, and possibly even fought over. It would have been the currency that kept the wheels of society turning. A cow's worth could be measured in so many ways: the butter it produced, the milk it gave, the offspring it bore. The value of one cow was sometimes the difference between a life of struggle and a life of relative comfort. But beyond the monetary value, there's something more personal about this cow, something that connects you to the people who once lived here. You imagine them, standing in this very barn, milking their cows, exchanging stories and laughter, sharing the bounty of the land. It wasn't just about surviving, it was about community. The milk wasn't just sustenance, it was the glue that held everyone together. A soft moo breaks your reverie, and you turn to see a figure approaching from the barn's shadow. It's the man from the farmhouse, the one who told you the stories of old. He's wrapped in a thick cloak, his face partially obscured by the hood, but his eyes are bright and sharp. "You seem lost in thought," he says, a wry smile playing at the corners of his lips. "I suppose it's hard not to be, with all this." He gestures around at the vast, empty landscape. "It gets into your bones after a while, you know. Iceland has a way of making you feel small, like a speck of dust on the earth." You nod, feeling the weight of his words settle in. There is something about this place that makes you realize just how insignificant you are in the grand scheme of things. The land, the animals, the milk, it all existed long before you arrived, and will continue to exist long after you're gone. And yet, in that brief moment you've spent here, it feels as if everything is connected, everything is part of the same eternal rhythm. The man stands next to you now, both of you watching the cows as they settle down for the night. The wind picks up again, but it's a comforting sound, like the earth itself exhaling. "This place has a history, you know," the man says, his voice quiet but steady. "A history that's not written in books, but in the land, in the milk, in the way we live. The old ways might be gone, but their echoes are still here. Every cow, every drop of milk, carries a piece of that history." You look at the man, realizing that he isn't just talking about cows or milk. He's talking about life itself, about the connection between people, animals, and the earth. In a way, the cows are more than just animals. They are the bearers of tradition, of stories, of survival. "And what about you?" you ask, turning to face him. "What's your role in this? What do you carry forward?" He smiles again, this time with a quiet pride. "I carry the same thing everyone else does," he says softly. "The tradition, the land, the milk. It's not about being special. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself, something that has lasted longer than any of us." You stand there for a moment, both of you silent as the night deepens around you. The cows are now fully settled, and the barn has fallen into a peaceful stillness. The world is calm, as if it's holding its breath, waiting for something. And in this moment, you realize that you, too, are a part of something much bigger, a story that stretches back through the centuries, written in the land, in the milk, and in the lives of those who have come before you. With a final glance at the cows, you turn back toward the farmhouse, the glow from the fire flickering in the distance. The man follows behind you, his footsteps light on the cold ground. And as you walk, you feel a strange sense of peace, knowing that for all the changes in the world, some things, like milk, like tradition, will never truly fade. The fire in the farmhouse awaits, a small comfort in the midst of the Icelandic night. You return to the warmth of the farmhouse, the door creaking shut behind you as you step back into the embrace of firelight. The crackling wood seems almost a sigh in relief at your return, and the smell of simmering stew fills the room, as comforting and familiar as a lullaby. There's a quiet sense of security here, one that comes from knowing that no matter how the world outside changes, the heart of this place will always beat in the rhythm of the land and the animals. The man gestures to the table, where fresh bread and cheese have appeared since you last looked, as if by magic. "Sit," he says with a smile. "You're welcome to stay as long as you like, but the cows still need their care in the morning." There's a knowing twinkle in his eye, as if he's used to the arrival of wanderers who come to look at Iceland and find, instead, that Iceland looks back at them. You settle into your seat again, the warmth of the fire kissing your skin as you take another piece of bread, tearing it in half. The texture is rougher than what you'd find back home, but there's something satisfying about it, something that makes it taste like more than just flour and water. You spread a little butter on top, rich, golden, and thick, and take a bite. The flavor is subtle but full, earthy, and alive, like the land itself has been kneaded into every crumb. As you chew, the conversation turns again to the old ways of Iceland, to how things used to be. The man speaks of the sagas, the epic tales of old warriors, kings, and gods, passed down through generations. These stories aren't just stories, they're the history of the land, carried through the centuries in the voices of those who lived it. People here, the man says, his voice quieter now, they don't just read the sagas. They live them. The past isn't something that's locked away in books. It's alive in the way we farm, in the way we treat our animals, in the way we share our food. You nod, trying to absorb the weight of his words. In a world where history is often reduced to facts and dates, it's humbling to realize that in places like this, history isn't just learned, it's lived. It's woven into the fabric of everyday life, like the wool in your cloak or the butter on your bread. Do you know, the man continues, leaning in slightly, that the sagas weren't just written for the kings and heroes? They were written for everyone. For farmers, for merchants, for regular people. The sagas were a way of saying that everyone mattered, that no life was too small to be recorded, to be remembered. You can almost hear the weight of those words settle between you, like the old oak beams above your head. The idea that every life matters, that the stories of ordinary people are just as important as the tales of warriors and kings, feels like a revelation. It's a reminder that history isn't just what's written down in textbooks, but also what's lived, felt, and passed along in the quiet moments shared over food and fire. The woman, who has been busy tending the fire, looks up from her work and joins the conversation. And milk, she says softly, almost to herself. Milk carries those stories, too. You glance at her, a little confused. She smiles knowingly. Milk is more than just food. It's a link to the past, a connection to the earth, to our ancestors. Every cow that walks these lands carries the blood of the ones before it, and every drop of milk that comes from those cows carries the memory of the land itself. It takes you a moment to grasp what she's saying, but when you do, it clicks. Milk, like everything else in this world, isn't just a commodity. It's a history, a lineage, a legacy. Every cow is a living record, every drop of milk a piece of the past, flowing through time in much the same way as the rivers that carve the land. The conversation drifts, but the words linger in your mind. The connection between the past and the present is a thread that runs through everything here, from the land to the animals to the people. And it's in the simplest things, the food we eat, the milk we drink, that this connection is strongest. As the evening stretches on, the warmth of the fire begins to make your eyelids heavy. The man and woman continue to talk softly, their voices blending with the crackle of the fire, and you find yourself drifting, lulled by the peace of this place. But before you fully give in to sleep, the man stands, stretching his back. Tomorrow, he says, we'll go down to the river. The cows will need to be milked in the morning, and we'll see if we can get enough milk to make some fresh butter. You should come with us. You nod, the promise of a new day and a new experience hanging in the air. As the fire burns low, you let the weight of the day settle on you. Here, in this place, where milk is currency and the land is life, you feel a sense of calm, of belonging. For a moment, you aren't just a visitor. You are part of the rhythm of this place, part of its story. The fire dims, and the room grows darker. The wind outside picks up again, howling against the walls of the farmhouse. But inside, it's warm, safe. You close your eyes, listening to the crackling of the fire and the soft murmurs of conversation, and let the peaceful stillness of Iceland wash over you. Soon, the sound of the wind fades, replaced by the steady, comforting rhythm of your breath, and the promise of tomorrow's journey lulls you into sleep. Now, as you drift off, you realize that the world you've stepped into, this world of milk and cows, of sagas and stories, isn't so far removed from your own. It's a world that's still alive, still breathing, still carrying the past into the future. The morning light creeps in through the small window, casting a soft, golden glow across the room. You wake to the smell of fresh bread and the unmistakable scent of milk being poured into a bucket. The fire from the night before has died down to glowing embers, but the warmth of the room still lingers, a comforting reminder of the refuge this farmhouse provides. You stretch and yawn, the lingering peace of the night wrapping around you like a soft blanket. The familiar sounds of the morning, cows lowing outside, birds singing, the distant rush of the river, fill the air, creating a serene backdrop as you slowly come to life. For a moment, you feel like you've stepped into a dream, a place where time moves differently, slower and gentler. The woman from the night before enters the room, her face warm with a smile. "Good morning," she says softly. "It's time for the cows. You're welcome to join us." You nod, pushing yourself up from the bed and making your way to the door. As you step outside, the crisp morning air bites at your skin, a sharp contrast to the warmth inside the farmhouse. The sun is just rising, casting long shadows across the land, and the world seems to be waking up alongside you. The man from yesterday is already at the barn, standing near the cows, his hands busy as he prepares the milking equipment. You walk toward him, the sound of your footsteps muffled by the thick grass beneath your boots. The barn looms ahead, its dark shape outlined against the pale morning sky. As you step inside, the smell of hay and the soft sound of the cow's breath fills the air. They are standing in their stalls, their large, gentle eyes watching you as you approach. The man hands you a stool and a small bucket, showing you where to sit. "Don't worry," he says with a chuckle. "They're used to strangers. Just make sure you're gentle." You take a deep breath, reaching out to the cow nearest to you. Its coat is warm, and the soft, rhythmic sound of its chewing fills the quiet barn. You settle into the rhythm of milking, your hands moving with a practiced motion as the cow's milk flows steadily into the bucket. It's strange how something so simple can feel so important. In this moment, the world feels small, intimate, and connected. The man watches you with a quiet smile, nodding in approval. You've got the hang of it. It's not hard, just a bit of patience. He moves to the next cow, and you follow suit, your hands becoming more confident with each pull. The milk is warm and fresh, and as you watch it fill the bucket, you realize just how vital this simple act is to the people of this land. Outside, the wind picks up again, but inside the barn, it's calm. The rhythm of milking and the steady sound of the cows chewing create a peaceful atmosphere. For a moment, you forget about the modern world, about the rush of life, about everything that pulls at you from the outside. All that matters here is the simple act of milking the cows and the connection you share with these creatures, with the land, and with the history that surrounds you. As you finish, the man moves over to the next cow, his hands working with the same steady rhythm. "You see," he says softly, "this is where it all begins. The milk feeds us, keeps us alive, and everything else, every loaf of bread, every wheel of cheese, every piece of butter, starts here." You glance down at the bucket, now full with fresh milk, and feel a strange sense of pride. You've participated in something ancient, something that has been done for centuries, something that holds the pulse of life in its hands. It's a quiet, humble act, but it's also powerful in its simplicity. The woman joins you in the barn, her hands carrying a small tray with fresh bread and a jug of milk. "Time for breakfast," she says with a smile. "Come sit and have some bread. We'll make butter with the milk later." You follow her back to the farmhouse, the sun now fully risen and casting a warm glow across the land. The world feels still, as if time itself has paused, allowing you a moment to breathe and appreciate the beauty of this place. Inside the farmhouse, the table is set with fresh bread, cheese, and the milk you just helped gather. The woman pours you a glass, and as you take a sip, the creamy, rich flavor fills your mouth. It's nothing like the milk you're used to. It's richer, fuller, with a depth of flavor that comes from the land itself. As you sit down, the man talks about the next step, turning the milk into butter. He explains how they churn the milk, carefully separating the cream from the whey, and how the butter is then shaped and salted to preserve it. It's a slow process, one that requires patience and care, but it's also something that connects them to the past, to the generations before them who did the same thing, in the same way. "You see," the man says, his voice filled with quiet pride, "the land doesn't give up its treasures easily. You have to work for it. But when you do, when you take the time, it rewards you." The woman nods in agreement. "And that's the way it's always been. You can't rush this life. You have to take it one step at a time, and you have to give something of yourself to it." You take another bite of bread, the butter melting slowly on your tongue, and for a moment, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for this simple, beautiful life. The work here is hard, but it's meaningful. Every action, from milking the cows to making butter, carries with it the weight of tradition, of history, and of survival. As you finish your meal, the man stands up, stretching his arms. Well, that's breakfast. Now it's time to get to work. We'll make butter from the cream, and then we'll see what else the land has for us today. You follow him outside, the day stretching out before you, and as you walk, you realize that this world, this place, is not as far removed from your own as it seems. It's a world that exists in the quiet moments, in the things we do every day, in the simple act of survival. And for the first time since you arrived, you feel completely at peace. The morning light continues to stretch across the horizon as you make your way to the next part of the day's work. The land, which had felt so vast and empty when you first arrived, now seems alive, pulsing with the rhythm of nature. The air is fresh, filled with the scent of wet earth and the distant ocean. The cows are still in the barn, content and warm, their milk already gathered. But now, it's time for the next phase of the cycle, turning the milk into something more. You follow the man to a small shed just behind the farmhouse. Inside, a churn sits on a wooden table, its dark wood worn from years of use. There's a large bowl of cream, thick and rich, waiting to be transformed. The man gestures for you to take a seat. This is where the magic happens, he says with a smile. As you sit down, he begins the slow, steady process of churning the cream, his hands moving in a rhythmic motion that seems almost hypnotic. The churn is simple, a wooden cylinder with a long handle, but it's clear that it has been used for generations. You watch as the cream begins to separate, the butter slowly taking shape. It's a slow process, but every motion feels deliberate, purposeful. This is how it's always been, the man says, his voice soft, almost reverent. You can't rush it. Butter, like everything else here, takes time. It's a connection to the past, to the way things used to be. And when you take your time, when you do it right, you get something that's truly special. You watch the cream as it slowly begins to thicken, turning into a golden, creamy mass. There's something almost magical about it. The way it transforms from something so liquid and ordinary into something solid, something that can be shaped and preserved. It feels like the land itself is giving you a gift, and all you have to do is be patient. As the butter begins to form, the man pauses for a moment, wiping his brow. It's not just about the butter, he says, his voice thoughtful. It's about the connection to the land, to the animals, to the work. You can't make good butter without that connection. You have to give something of yourself, something real. You nod, understanding the depth of what he's saying. It's not just about the product, it's about the process. It's about being present in the moment, about giving your time and effort to something that has value beyond just the end result. You're reminded of the milking, of the quiet time spent with the cows, the steady rhythm of the barn, the deep connection to the land. After a few more minutes of churning, the butter is ready. The man scoops it out carefully, his hands steady as he shapes it into a block. He presses it gently, packing it into a small dish. The butter is golden, rich, and full of flavor. He passes it to you with a smile. Try it. You won't taste anything like it anywhere else. You take a small piece of the butter, spreading it on a fresh piece of bread. The richness hits you immediately, the smooth, creamy texture melting in your mouth. It's unlike anything you've ever tasted before. Full, rich, and complex. The flavor is pure, untainted by the sterile processes of modern dairy production. It's a taste of the land, of the cows, of the earth. It's alive in a way that's hard to explain, but easy to feel. As you savor the butter, you realize just how much it means to the people here. This isn't just food. It's a lifeline, a connection to everything that sustains them. The cows, the milk, the butter, it's all part of a cycle that has been going on for centuries, a cycle that is deeply embedded in the culture and the way of life. The woman joins you in the shed, her hands busy with a tray of fresh bread and a jug of milk. She places the tray on the table, and the man nods in appreciation. This, he says, gesturing to the butter, is the fruit of our labor. This is the reward for all the work, the patience, and the connection to the land. You nod, feeling the weight of his words settle in. The land doesn't give up its treasures easily. It takes work, patience, and a deep connection to make something truly worthwhile. The butter is just the physical manifestation of that work, but the real reward is in the process, in the relationship with the land and the animals, in the quiet moments of hard work that form the foundation of everything. As you sit down to eat, the conversation shifts again. The man talks about the changing world, about the challenges of modern life, and about how much harder it's become to keep the old ways alive. Things aren't as simple as they used to be, he says, his voice tinged with regret. But we still try. We still hold on to what we can. The land, the cows, the milk, it's all we have. You listen to him, understanding that the world here is shifting, just as it has for centuries. But in this small corner of the world, the old ways are still alive, still being passed down from one generation to the next. The connection to the land, to the animals, to the cycle of life. These things remain unchanged, even in the face of modernity. The woman stands and begins to clear the table, and the man gets up as well, stretching his back. We'll need to make sure the butter is stored properly, he says, his tone businesslike. It's a long winter, and we'll need all the food we can get. You stand, too, feeling the weight of the day settling in. The work isn't over yet. There's still more to do, more to prepare, more to preserve. But as you walk out into the bright, cold daylight, you feel a sense of peace. This place, this life, it may be hard, but it's full of meaning, full of connection, and that's something that never fades. As you head back to the barn to tend to the cows, the wind picks up again, but it doesn't feel so cold anymore. You found your place here, even if only for a moment. And in this small, humble life, you've found a rhythm, a connection to the past and to the land that sustains it. The day moves on slowly, and with each passing hour, the world around you seems more and more like a timeless dance. The cows are content in their stalls, the barn now filled with the warm scent of fresh hay, and the air, while crisp, feels more like a gentle companion than a biting force. You make your way back to the barn, where the man and woman are already at work, preparing the tools for the next task. There's a quiet urgency in the way they move, an understanding that the rhythm of the land must be followed, that the seasons are not to be ignored, and that each moment spent tending to the farm is a moment invested in survival. As you step inside the barn, the man hands you a bucket and a large wooden spoon. We'll take the whey and begin making cheese, he says, his voice steady and calm. It's a simple process, but it's another way of preserving the milk for the long months ahead. You nod, taking the bucket, and he leads you to a corner of the barn where a large vat sits, filled with the thick, milky liquid. It's a familiar sight now, the transformation of milk into something else, something that will last, something that will carry the essence of this place even after the snow has buried the fields and the cows are inside for the winter. You'll see, he says, it's not hard, but it requires patience, just like everything else here. The whey will be separated, the curds formed, and then we'll press them into molds. It's a process that takes time, but it's worth it. You follow his instructions, slowly and carefully, feeling the weight of each step. As you stir the whey, you watch the curds begin to form, floating to the top like small, delicate clouds. The texture of the curds is soft, smooth, almost like velvet, and the process feels both calming and profound. Each stir, each movement, is part of a cycle that has been repeated for generations. The woman stands nearby, watching you with a quiet smile. You see, she says, this is how we survive. We take what the land gives us and make it last. Cheese, butter, milk, they're all ways of preserving what we have so that we don't go hungry during the long winters. You glance around the barn, the warmth of the fire still lingering in your memory, the cows quietly chewing their cud, and you begin to understand the delicate balance of life here. This isn't just about the food, it's about security, stability, and respect for the land. The process of making cheese, of turning fresh milk into something that can be stored and shared, is a fundamental act of survival, an act of care for the future. As you press the curds into molds, you feel a sense of pride in the work, in the connection to the land, and to the generations of people who have done this exact same task. The cheese, like the butter, is a product of patience, of tradition, and of a deep understanding of the natural world. Once the cheese is made, the man says, we'll store it in a cool place, wrap it in cloth, and let it age. It's not ready right away, but in a few months, it'll be perfect, aged to perfection by the cold. You can't help but marvel at how everything here is built for endurance, for longevity. The cows provide milk, which is transformed into butter, cheese, and other preserved foods. Each product serves a purpose beyond simple consumption. It's a way of ensuring that even when the world outside is harsh and unforgiving, there will always be enough to sustain the people here. With the curds now pressed into molds, the man and woman begin to tidy up, and you stand back for a moment, taking in the calm, steady rhythm of the day. It's a peaceful existence, but one that requires constant work, constant attention to detail, constant respect for the land. You've done well, the man says with a nod of approval. Most people think of farming as hard work, and it is. But it's also a way of life. It's about understanding the cycles, the rhythms of the land. And once you learn them, once you respect them, everything falls into place. The woman smiles as she begins to clean up the remaining way. It's about being part of the land, she adds. The land gives to you, and in return, you give to the land. It's a partnership. You feel a deep sense of gratitude, realizing that this partnership with the land is not something that can be taken for granted. It's a relationship built on respect, patience, and an understanding that everything is connected. The cows, the milk, the cheese, the land. It's all part of a larger system, one that has existed for centuries and will continue to exist long after you've gone. As the day continues, the work doesn't stop. There are always more tasks to be done, more chores to complete, more food to preserve, more attention to give to the animals. But with each passing moment, you feel more connected to this place, more grounded in the simple, steady rhythm of life. You realize that in the midst of all the hard work, there's something beautiful about it. It's the quiet satisfaction of knowing that each task you complete, each small act of care, contributes to something much larger than yourself. It's a feeling of being part of something timeless, something that stretches back through the centuries, anchored in the land, the animals, and the work of generations before you. As the sun begins to set, casting a golden glow over the fields, you feel a deep sense of peace. The work isn't finished, and the challenges are far from over. But for the first time since you arrived, you realize that this is enough. This simple life, built on tradition, patience, and respect for the land, is everything you need. The cows settle down for the night. The barn is quiet, and the day winds down. As you sit by the fire once more, feeling the warmth of the room and the comfort of the land, you know that this world, though distant and different, is not so far removed from your own. It is a world where milk is currency, where food is earned, and where survival depends on the care and respect we give to the earth. And in that simple truth, there is a quiet, profound peace. The fire crackles softly in the hearth, and the barn outside remains still, save for the occasional rustle of the animals settling into the night. The world beyond the farmhouse has faded into the quiet of twilight. The stars are coming out now, the sky so clear and vast that it feels as though you could fall into it. The winds are still for a moment, and you listen to the soothing sounds of the night, the soft hum of the earth itself, as though it's breathing in time with you. Inside, the man and woman are quiet, content in the work they've done today. You've all shared the work of the farm, the milking, the churning, the pressing of the curds into cheese. The cycle of life here feels complete, somehow, even though the work never truly stops. It's as though there's always something to be done, yet everything is a part of a larger, unhurried rhythm. The hum of life here is simple, uncomplicated, and yet it's woven with such depth that it fills the room with an almost sacred stillness. You look around the farmhouse, taking in the warmth of the room, the low beams above your head, and the familiar, comforting smell of wood and earth. You notice the way the man and woman move, their gestures slow and deliberate, each action carrying purpose. There's no rush here, no ticking clock or looming deadline. Time seems to stretch, and with each passing moment, you begin to understand that life here is not measured by tasks completed, but by the quiet, continuous acts of care that fill the hours. The man leans back in his chair, his hands resting in his lap. Tomorrow, he says, his voice low, we'll work on preserving the fruits of today. But for tonight, we rest. The earth has given us all it can for now. You nod, feeling the weight of his words settle into your chest. Here, Rest is earned, and it is deeply cherished. After all the work of the day, after all the steps taken to ensure that the farm will continue, there's a simple peace in knowing that, for tonight, all is well. The woman, ever graceful, stands and begins to gather the dishes from the table. She places them in a wooden basin, wiping them clean with a cloth that's soft from years of use. Her movements are steady, practiced, but there's a gentleness to them that speaks of a lifetime spent in this rhythm. She's done this so many times before, and yet it's clear that each act, no matter how simple, carries its own meaning. Tomorrow will be a new day, she says, her voice like the gentle breeze outside, a soft hum of reassurance. But tonight, we've done all we can. We've made sure the cows are fed, the cheese is made, the milk is stored. We've honored the land. You look out the window for a moment, watching as the last light of the day disappears, leaving behind a sky full of stars. The vastness of it all is humbling. It's as if you've stepped out of time and into a place where the earth's heartbeat is louder than anything else. Here, beneath the stars and the eternal sky, it feels like you're part of something larger than yourself, a long line of people who have lived this way before, who have honored the land and the cycles of nature with patience and care. Do you ever feel? You begin to ask, your voice trailing off. Do you ever feel disconnected from everything else? From the outside world? The man looks up, his eyes thoughtful. Sometimes yes. But you know, that feeling is fleeting. The outside world moves quickly, and it pulls at you. But the land here, this place, it gives you something else. It gives you a steady rhythm, a quiet peace that you can't find in the noise of modern life. It's the land's way of keeping you grounded. It reminds you that you don't need much to be content. You just need enough. Enough land, enough work, enough care. The woman smiles gently, adding, it's true. There's no need for anything more than what you can give. You work with the land, and the land works with you. That's the way it's always been. And it's the way it will always be. You absorb her words, feeling the weight of them in your bones. There's a deep, profound truth in what they're saying. In the world you know, where everything moves so fast and everything is measured by deadlines and achievements, it's easy to forget that there is another way to live. A way that's slower, quieter, and more connected. A way that honors the cycles of nature, the rhythms of life, and the simple acts that sustain you. As the night deepens and the firelight flickers in the corner of the room, you begin to feel that connection, the connection to this land, to these people, and to the work that has been passed down through generations. You realize that, in this small, humble place, you found something precious, something you didn't know you were missing. You stand, feeling the pull of the night air outside. Thank you, you say quietly, turning to the man and woman, for letting me share this with you, for showing me a life I didn't know existed. The man nods, a smile creasing the corners of his eyes. It's not a life for everyone, he says, but it's ours, and it's enough. The woman places the last of the dishes into the basin, then turns to you with a gentle smile. Tomorrow, we'll show you more. There's always something to learn here, always something new to discover. The land never stops teaching. You step outside, the cool night air brushing against your skin, and for a moment, you stand in silence. The stars above are so bright, so close, that they seem to fill the sky with their light. You breathe in deeply, feeling the weight of the earth beneath you and the endless sky above. In this moment, you realize that no matter how far away the modern world may seem, you have found a place where time moves differently. A place where you are grounded, where you are part of something timeless. You turn back to the farmhouse, the warmth glowing through the window, and as you walk toward it, you feel a deep sense of peace. The work will continue, the seasons will change, but here, in this moment, everything is as it should be. The night grows deeper as you make your way back into the warmth of the farmhouse. The air outside is chilled, the sky overhead wide and unbroken, the stars twinkling like ancient fireflies. But inside, the fire has rekindled, its soft glow illuminating the room, and the air smells faintly of wood, earth, and freshly baked bread. The man and woman are quiet, content, finishing their small tasks. The hum of daily life here doesn't stop, but it flows with a sense of calm purpose. You sit back down by the fire, feeling the tiredness from the day's work settling into your bones. The simple acts of milking, churning, and pressing curds have filled you with an unexpected sense of accomplishment. You've spent your time here with your hands, with the land, and now, with the quiet moments of reflection that only come after a hard day's work. The man, having noticed you sitting by the fire, nods in your direction. You know, he begins, his voice low and steady. Sometimes I think about the old days, when everything felt more immediate. There was no rushing. We didn't have the luxury of distractions. Every moment counted. But that's the way we've always lived. You look up at him, intrigued. What do you mean? He chuckles softly, the sound rich with the wisdom of years lived in the slow, steady pulse of this land. Well, in the old days, every task was done by hand. There were no machines to hurry things along. You didn't get anything fast. You earned it, piece by piece. And in that slowness, there was something beautiful. It made every day meaningful. Every chore, no matter how small, was a contribution to something larger. The woman, who has been quietly preparing a small pot of tea, looks up and adds, there was no rushing through life. There were no shortcuts, just the work and the reward. That's how you came to understand what truly mattered. You take in their words, the simplicity of it hitting you more deeply than you expected. You've lived in a world where efficiency and speed are often the goals, where the clock dictates everything, where time is measured by the amount of work you can squeeze into each minute. Here, in this peaceful rhythm, time seems to move differently. Slower, yes, but richer. Each task, each moment of effort, seems to carry more weight because it is done with intention, with care. The man sips his tea slowly, his eyes distant. It's a good life, though. A slow life. We don't have much, but what we have is ours. Earned from the land, from the animals, from the milk. It's a cycle that's been going on for centuries. The woman smiles softly, joining him by the fire, her hands clasped around her cup. And it's enough. Not just for us, but for all of us. There's something about this place, about the way life here is built, that gives you something you can't find anywhere else. Peace, contentment, and the knowledge that you're part of something that will endure long after you've gone. You look out the window again, the world outside bathed in moonlight, and for a moment, the stillness is overwhelming. There's no rush, no need to hurry. It's as if the earth itself has slowed its pace just for you, offering you this space, this time, to breathe and exist without the usual pressures. The cows rest quietly in the barn, the land sleeps under the cover of night, and the fire crackles gently behind you. What do you think will happen to all of this? You ask softly, unsure why the question feels so important. The man looks out the window, his gaze following the line of the land that stretches to the horizon. Everything changes in time, but some things, some traditions, remain. The land, the animals, the rhythm of the seasons. Those things have a way of enduring. It's the work we do that keeps them alive, keeps them going. It's not about fighting time. It's about understanding it, living with it, and making sure that what you leave behind is a reflection of what came before you. You nod slowly, feeling the weight of his words sink in. The more you listen, the more you realize that the past isn't something distant and unreachable. It's something that lives on through the work, through the simple acts of care and attention, through the ways that people interact with the land and each other. It's about making sure that what you do matters, that it has a purpose beyond just the moment. For the first time, you begin to truly understand what they mean when they say that life here is about more than just surviving. It's about contributing to something larger, something timeless. And in this small corner of the world, where milk is currency and the land is everything, you feel like you've found the heart of that truth. The man finishes his tea and stands up, stretching his arms. Come, he says, there's still more to be done. We've made enough butter and cheese for now, but tomorrow we'll go to the river. The cows need to be cared for, and we'll have to make sure everything is ready for the long winter. You stand with him, the weight of the day's work still settling on your shoulders, but mixed with a sense of purpose and peace. Thank you, you say quietly, looking around the room one last time, for showing me all of this, for letting me be a part of it. He smiles warmly, his eyes crinkling at the corners. It's nothing, he says. You've earned your place here. The land is always welcoming to those who respect it. You nod, feeling the weight of his words, and follow him out the door into the cool night. The stars shine down, their light soft and eternal, and as you walk beside him, you realize that this world, this way of life, is not so distant after all. It's a world you can carry with you, even in the busy rush of modern life. For the first time, you feel truly connected to the land, to the work, and to the people who have lived this way for generations. And in that connection, you find a quiet peace, a peace that you will carry with you, no matter where you go. The night air is cool against your skin as you step out into the vast, open landscape, the sound of your footsteps muffled by the grass beneath your feet. The world around you feels different now, more real, more tangible. The rhythm of the land, the cycles of life here, have woven themselves into your thoughts. And as you walk alongside the man and woman, there's a sense of quiet belonging that settles in your chest. You are no longer just an observer. You are part of this place. The barn is still, its silhouette stark against the starry sky. The cows, the lifeblood of the farm, rest in their stalls, their warm breath rising in steady clouds. You see the quiet beauty of their presence, the way they add to the fabric of this world. It's not just their milk that sustains the farm. It's their connection to the land itself, their simple, steady lives. You realize, in that moment, that everything here, the cows, the land, the work, has a purpose. It all fits together in a way that makes sense, a way that feels timeless. The man leads you toward the river, where the night is darker, quieter, and the soft rush of water fills the air. The gentle flow of the river reminds you of the land's unyielding rhythm, the steady pulse that has been here long before you arrived, and will continue long after you leave. The water, like the milk, like the cows, is an essential part of this life. It's not something that can be taken for granted. It's a resource to be cared for, respected, and nurtured. We'll check the water levels tomorrow, the man says as he stops by the riverbank. It's important to make sure everything is running smoothly for the cows. Water is as vital as the milk itself. Without it, nothing can survive. You watch the river, the way the water moves over the stones, its surface reflecting the stars above. There's something incredibly peaceful about it. The way the water keeps flowing, the way the world keeps turning, without hurry or hesitation. It's a reminder that, no matter what, nature has its own pace. It doesn't rush. It simply is. The woman stands beside you, her gaze fixed on the river as well. You see, she says softly, everything here is interconnected. The cows need the land needs the water, and we need all of it. It's not just about survival. It's about harmony, about understanding how we all work together. You nod, taking in her words. In your life, you've often thought of things in terms of individual goals, of what you can achieve, of how you can move forward. But here, in this place, you see that it's not just about individual achievement. It's about being part of something larger, something that exists beyond your own needs. It's about understanding that your actions have a ripple effect, that everything is connected. As you stand by the river, the quiet hum of the world around you seems to settle into your bones. You feel grounded, steady, as though you've finally found a rhythm that suits you. The fast-paced, noisy world you left behind seems distant now, like a memory fading into the background. Here, time moves differently. It moves in sync with the seasons, with the cycles of nature. It moves with purpose. The man breaks the silence, his voice low but firm. Tomorrow we'll gather more from the land. There's always work to be done, but we also take time to appreciate it, to stop and look at what we've built. And when you do that, you see that everything is more than just work. It's life. It's connection. You turn to him, feeling the truth of his words. In the stillness of the night, in the quiet hum of the land, you realize that the work isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the process. It's about giving yourself fully to the land and allowing it to give back in return. As you walk back toward the farmhouse, the moon hanging high above, you feel a deep sense of peace settle over you. The work will never stop, but there is no rush. You know that tomorrow will come, and with it, more tasks, more responsibilities. But for tonight, you are content. You have found a place where the world slows down, where the simple rhythms of life are enough. The fire inside the farmhouse burns brightly, a welcome sight. The soft glow from the window beckons, and you step inside, the warmth enveloping you. The woman is already preparing for the night's rest, her hands moving with gentle grace as she arranges the room for sleep. You feel a sense of quiet gratitude for this place, for the people here, and for the life that, in its simplicity, holds more meaning than anything you've known before. As you settle into your bed for the night, the sounds of the farmhouse fade into the background. The soft crackle of the fire, the quiet murmur of the cows in the barn, the distant rush of the river. You close your eyes, letting the calm of the night wash over you. And as sleep begins to take hold, you realize that you have found something precious in this land. The kind of peace that comes not from what you have, but from who you are and from the quiet, steady rhythm of the world around you. The morning comes softly, with a gentle light filtering through the window and the quiet hum of the world waking up around you. The familiar sound of cows lowing in the distance, the soft wind rustling the grass outside, and the occasional crackle of the fire in the hearth fill the air, creating a sense of peace that is so profound it feels almost sacred. You wake slowly, stretching your limbs and feeling the comfort of the thick blankets around you. The farm is still, but it's a stillness that's full of life. You take a deep breath, the air crisp and fresh, and for a moment, everything seems to be exactly as it should be. You roll out of bed, the wooden floor cool beneath your feet, and pull on your clothes, ready for the day ahead. As you step outside, the world greets you with a calm that is almost overwhelming. The sun is just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the land, and the cool morning air brushes against your face, carrying the scent of earth and dew. The cows are already up, grazing lazily in the fields, their breath rising in white clouds as they munch on the grass. The rhythm of the day has already begun, and you step into it willingly, like an old friend returning after a long absence. The man and woman are already at work, preparing the tools and equipment for the day's tasks. The man looks up and sees you, his face breaking into a warm smile. "Good morning," he says, his voice is steady and calming as always. "Today, we'll gather the hay from the fields. The cows will need it for the coming winter. We'll also check on the water levels again, and maybe make a bit more cheese. We're always working, but there's a quiet peace in it." You nod, following him toward the fields where the hay is ready for gathering. The woman is ahead of you, moving gracefully as she sets up the carts for the hay bales. The day feels like a continuation of the one before, a continuation of the rhythm that has carried you through your time here. Each task flows into the next, connected by an invisible thread that links you to the land, to the cows, to the people who live here. As you walk through the fields, the tall grass sways gently in the breeze, the land stretching out before you like a vast ocean of green. The smell of the earth is rich, full of life, and you can feel the pulse of the land beneath your feet. You begin to gather the hay with the man, the simple task grounding you in the present moment. Each bale of hay you lift feels like an offering to the land, a small act of gratitude for all it has given you. "You see," the man says, his hands steady as he works, "the hay will feed the cows through the winter. It's the last harvest before the cold sets in, and it's a reminder that we must always be prepared. The land gives us what we need, but it's up to us to care for it, to use what we have wisely. The cows, the hay, the milk, it's all connected. Without one, we'd have nothing." You listen to his words, feeling the truth of them settle in. This life is about care. Care for the land, for the animals, for each other. It's not about rushing or achieving. It's about tending to what is given to you and ensuring that it is passed on to the next generation. You realize that in this world, nothing is taken for granted. Everything has value, from the smallest grain of hay to the milk that fills the churn. As you continue working, the sun climbs higher in the sky, casting a warm light across the fields. The task of gathering hay becomes almost meditative, a steady rhythm of lifting, stacking, and securing each bale. The man moves beside you, his movements slow but sure, and you can see the satisfaction in his face as the piles of hay grow taller. The work is hard, but there's a quiet joy in it, a joy that comes from knowing that each effort contributes to something larger, something meaningful. By midday, the hay is gathered, and the sun hangs high above, casting a golden glow over the farm. You and the man take a break, sitting on the grass and drinking from the jug of water the woman has brought out for you. The cool water feels refreshing, its clarity a reminder of how connected everything here is. "You know," the man says, wiping his brow, "there's a certain beauty in hard work. It keeps you grounded. And when you see the results of that work, When you see the hay stacked up and the cows fed, you know you've done something worthwhile. You look around at the farm, at the cows grazing peacefully in the field, at the stacks of hay ready for winter. The simplicity of it all feels profound, like you've stepped into a world where the noise of the modern world can't reach. Here, there is only the land, the animals, and the steady work that sustains them. As you rest, you realize that this is a world that doesn't demand more than it can give. It doesn't ask for excess or luxury. It asks only for respect, for care, for a willingness to work alongside the land rather than against it. And in return, it gives you everything you need. The woman joins you, a smile on her face as she hands you a piece of fresh bread and a small wheel of cheese. "We've earned our rest," she says, her voice light. "And now, we enjoy the fruits of our labor." You take the bread and cheese, the simple meal satisfying in its richness. The cheese is creamy and flavorful, its taste a reminder of the work that went into it. As you eat, the man and woman share stories of the past, of how life was different when they were young, of how the land has changed over the years. There's a quiet nostalgia in their voices, but it's tempered with a deep sense of gratitude. They've lived through hardship, through challenges, but they've never lost their connection to the land. And as the day wears on, you realize that you, too, have become part of that connection. You've learned to slow down, to care for the land, to appreciate the simple, steady rhythm of life. You've found something here that goes beyond survival, beyond work. You've found a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the fields, you feel a quiet sense of fulfillment settle in your chest. The work isn't finished, but it doesn't need to be. The land is patient, the cows are content, and the rhythm of life will continue, steady and sure, just as it has for generations. The night comes again, but this time, the air feels different. There's a quiet heaviness that lingers, as if the land itself is preparing for rest. The cows are already in the barn, their bodies lined up against the walls, breathing slowly and steadily, filling the barn with a comforting, familiar sound. The wind has picked up a bit, rustling the trees and carrying the scent of distant rain. You stand outside for a moment, watching the sky darken, the first stars appearing like small sparks in the night's vast expanse. Inside, the warmth of the fire beckons, and you return to the farmhouse. The man and woman are already sitting by the hearth, a pot of stew simmering gently on the stove. The flickering light from the fire dances across their faces, softening the lines of age and experience. Their eyes are calm, full of wisdom. There's an ease in their movements, as if they've grown into the rhythm of life here, as if they've always been a part of this land, and it has always been a part of them. You sit down with them, and the woman hands you a bowl of the stew. It's simple, meat, root vegetables, a handful of herbs, but it tastes richer than anything you've ever had. The flavors are earthy, comforting, a reflection of the land itself. The man watches you for a moment, his gaze steady. "You know," he says slowly, "people who come here often talk about the work. They see it, and they think it's hard, that it's something to endure. But the truth is, it's the work that connects us. It's the work that makes us feel alive." You nod, understanding what he means. The work here is more than just physical labor. It's a spiritual practice, a way of honoring the land and the animals that sustain you. It's a way of connecting with the past, with the generations that have come before you, and with the earth that has always been here, quietly giving life. The woman adds, "It's about giving something back. The land doesn't ask for much, but it does ask for respect, for care. And in return, it gives us what we need. Food, warmth, shelter." You take another bite of the stew, the richness of the flavors filling your senses. For the first time, you feel fully immersed in this life, not as an outsider, but as part of something much larger. You feel the connection to the land, to the people who have lived here for centuries, and to the quiet, steady rhythms that have sustained them all this time. The man sits back in his chair, his eyes reflecting the firelight. People often forget the small things, the things that don't seem important at first. But it's the small things that make up the bigger picture. The way we care for the cows, the way we harvest the hay, the way we make sure the milk is preserved for the winter. It's all connected. You nod again, feeling the weight of his words. In a world that often prioritizes big achievements, grand gestures, and quick rewards, It's easy to overlook the quiet, everyday acts that make up the fabric of life. But here, in this place, the small things are everything. Every meal, every chore, every moment of care is part of a larger story, one that has been unfolding for generations. The woman watches you for a moment before speaking. Tomorrow, we'll take the cows out to the field again. Make sure they're comfortable for the night. We'll also check the hay storage and make sure everything is in place for the coming winter. It's all about being ready, making sure the work is done so that we can rest when we need to. You finish your stew, the warmth of the meal spreading through you. The fire crackles gently, and you feel a sense of peace settle in your chest. The work is never truly over. It never can be, in a place like this. But for tonight, everything is as it should be. The cows are fed, the land is cared for, and you are surrounded by the quiet comfort of this small, humble life. The man stands and stretches, his back straight despite the years of hard work. We'll rest now, he says with a smile. Tomorrow, we'll do it all again. But for tonight, we can sleep knowing we've done what needed to be done. You rise, following him to the door, where the cool night air greets you once more. The stars are bright above, and the land feels alive with the hum of the earth, the steady pulse that carries through the air and into your very bones. You step outside, your breath forming small clouds in the chill, and for a moment, you just stand there, looking up at the sky. In the stillness of the night, you realize that this is what it means to truly live. It's not about constant achievement or rushing toward the next goal. It's about being present, about understanding that the work, the rhythm of life, is its own reward. And in this moment, you understand that you are part of that rhythm, part of the cycle that connects the past to the present and the present to the future. The night deepens, and the farmhouse grows quiet, save for the crackling of the fire and the soft sounds of the cows in the barn. You make your way back to the warmth of the hearth, ready for the rest that the day has earned. You settle into bed, the weight of the blankets comforting, and let the quiet of the land fill your thoughts. The work will continue, the seasons will turn, but for now, in this moment, you rest. And you realize, with a deep sense of peace, that this is enough. The new day arrives quietly, without fanfare, the early light gently waking you from your dreams. You hear the soft hum of the world outside before you even open your eyes, the rustling of leaves, the faint sound of the river flowing in the distance, and the steady, peaceful lowing of the cows in the barn. The air is cool, fresh with the scent of dew on the grass, and the farmhouse feels like a warm haven against the stillness of the morning. You sit up slowly, stretching your arms and letting the calm of the room settle in. It's still dark enough to feel the pull of the night, but the soft glow of morning is already starting to creep through the window. The fire has gone out, leaving only the warmth in the walls to remind you of the quiet comfort of last night. As you make your way to the kitchen, you notice the woman already moving around, preparing breakfast. There's no rush in her movements, just a steady, deliberate rhythm that feels as natural as breathing. The man is already outside, checking on the cows, as usual. It's clear that the day begins not with a sense of urgency, but with the simple intention to continue, to maintain, to care for the land and animals. There's something profoundly peaceful about this. You sit down at the table, and the woman sets a bowl of warm porridge in front of you, the steam rising in soft curls. It smells like the earth itself, wholesome and grounding. There's honey to sweeten it, and a slice of cheese, thick and rich, beside it. The simplicity of the meal feels like an offering, like a return to something essential. "Morning," she says with a soft smile. The cows are fed, and the morning work is ready to begin. We'll head to the fields again, gather more from the land. You nod, feeling the familiar sense of contentment that has settled in your chest over the past few days. The work isn't glamorous or exciting, but it is deeply fulfilling. The rhythm of milking, of tending to the cows, of caring for the land, it's become part of you now. And each task you complete feels meaningful, each small chore carrying the weight of tradition, of purpose. As you eat, the man comes inside, wiping his hands on his trousers. He doesn't say much, but his presence is comforting, a reminder that this place runs on the steady flow of routine. "Ready for today?" he asks, his voice calm. You finish your breakfast, feeling the warmth of the meal spread through you. "Ready," you reply, the quiet satisfaction of the morning settling into your bones. You follow the man outside, where the world is already coming to life. The sun is rising higher now, casting its golden light across the fields, and the morning air is thick with the scent of fresh earth and grass. The cows are out in the pasture, grazing lazily, and the rhythm of their movement is almost hypnotic. Today, the task is simple but vital, gathering hay for the winter. The land is still lush from the summer rains, and the grass is thick and tall, ready to be cut and stored. You and the man work side by side, using the old tools to harvest the hay. It's a quiet task, but one that carries its own rhythm. The sound of the sickle cutting through the grass is steady and reassuring, each sweep of the blade adding to the piles of hay that will sustain the cows through the cold months. This is the work that keeps us going, the man says, his voice low but full of pride. This is how we survive the winter. Hay for the cows, food for the table, and warmth for the house. It's all connected. You nod as you continue working, the motion of the sickle becoming more fluid, more natural. With each swing, you can almost feel the connection to those who've done this work before you, to the generations of farmers who have harvested the land in the same way. The work is simple, but it's sacred. It's part of a long tradition, and each effort you make is an offering to the land that has sustained you. After a few hours of hard work, the first piles of hay are stacked neatly, ready to be stored for the winter. You stand back for a moment, sweat on your brow, and admire the work you've done. It's a simple accomplishment, but it feels good. You've earned this, earned your place in the cycle of the land, and it feels like you've become part of something much larger than yourself. We'll finish up tomorrow, the man says, wiping his forehead. But today, we rest for a bit. You look around, the fields stretching out before you, the quiet hills in the distance, and feel the weight of the world fall away for just a moment. In this place, there is no rush. There is no pressure to do more, be more. There is only the land, the animals, and the steady rhythm of life. You sit down on a patch of grass, taking in the view. The cows are grazing, their large bodies moving slowly through the pasture, and the sky above is wide and open. The world feels full of possibilities, not because of what you could do, but because of what already is. The woman brings out a small basket with some bread, cheese, and apples. You take a piece of bread, spreading cheese on it, and taking a bite. The food is simple, but it tastes like it was meant for you. It's the kind of meal that fills you up not just in body, but in spirit. As you sit there, eating and resting, you realize that this is the life you've been seeking. Not the constant noise of the world, not the chase for achievements or status, but this simple, steady existence. The rhythm of the work, the care for the land, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that what you do matters. The man and woman join you, sitting beside you in silence. There's no need for words right now. Everything is understood. This is what life is about. Not the grand gestures, not the fame or fortune, but the small, simple acts of care that build a life, a community, and a legacy. As the sun begins to dip lower in the sky, casting a warm, golden light across the land, you feel a sense of peace settle over you. The work will continue, the seasons will turn, but for now, you are content. You are connected to this land, to these people, and to the rhythm of life that sustains it all. You take a deep breath, letting the quiet settle around you. For the first time, you understand what it means to truly live. To live in harmony with the land, with the animals, and with the simple, steady flow of life. And in this moment, you feel like you've found what you've been searching for. The sun is beginning to set, casting long shadows across the land as the day starts to fade into twilight. The air is cooler now, the warmth of the sun softening into the quiet embrace of evening. You sit back on the grass, the remnants of your meal, now just a memory, and take in the scene around you. The cows have finished grazing for the day and are slowly making their way back to the barn, their movements deliberate and calm. There's a peacefulness in their rhythm, a quiet assurance that everything is as it should be. The woman and man stand beside you, the soft hum of their conversation mixing with the evening sounds of the farm. The gentle rustling of the leaves, the distant sound of the river, and the faint chatter of birds settling into the trees fill the air. There's no hurry in their voices, just a quiet assurance that all is well. Tomorrow, we'll finish the hay and prepare the barn for the colder months, the man says, his voice steady but full of purpose. But tonight, we rest. We've done what we need to. You nod, the simple but profound sense of fulfillment settling deep in your chest. There's something about this place that makes you realize how little is truly needed to feel at peace. It's not about having more. It's about making the most of what you have. The land, the animals, the people. Everything works together in this quiet harmony, and in that, you find a sense of completeness. The woman looks out across the fields, her gaze steady and calm. The work doesn't end. It never really does, she says softly. But that's okay. We do what we can. We care for the land, and the land cares for us. That's the way it's always been. You listen, the weight of her words sinking in. In the modern world, there's always more to do, more to achieve, more to be. But here, in this quiet corner of the world, the value of a day's work is measured not by how much you've done, but by how much you've given of yourself. It's the simple act of caring, of tending, of being present, that makes the work worthwhile. As the evening deepens, the air grows cooler, and the stars begin to emerge in the darkening sky. The light of the farmhouse glows softly in the distance, a beacon of warmth and shelter. The man and woman begin to head inside, their movements slow and deliberate. You stand for a moment longer, watching the stars as they appear one by one, dotting the sky with their distant light. There's something comforting about their presence, about the way they've been shining for millennia, unchanged, steady. You head toward the farmhouse, the soft crunch of grass underfoot the only sound. The wind is gentle now, the evening air carrying the scent of the earth, fresh and clean. It feels like the land itself is taking a deep breath, preparing for rest. And you, too, feel the weight of the day easing off your shoulders, replaced by a quiet sense of fulfillment. Inside, the fire has been rekindled, its soft glow filling the room with warmth. The woman has prepared a simple dinner, soup, bread, and more cheese, and you settle in at the table with them. The conversation flows easily, the rhythm of the evening gentle and unhurried. There's no rush, no urgency, just the slow, steady pulse of life, here, in this moment. After dinner, you find yourself standing outside once more, gazing at the night sky. The air is cool, but the warmth of the house lingers in your bones. The world feels vast, yet somehow small, contained in the space between the stars above and the earth beneath your feet. The quiet of the farm, the soft rustling of the leaves, the occasional lowing of the cows in the barn. It all feels like part of a much larger story, one that has been unfolding for centuries. You understand now. This life, this simple, steady existence, is more than just surviving. It's about connection. It's about care. It's about living in harmony with the land, the animals, and the people who share it with you. And as you stand there, the cool breeze brushing against your skin, you realize that this place, this rhythm of life, has become a part of you. The wind picks up again, a soft hum in the distance, and you take one last look at the farmhouse, at the cows in the barn, at the land that stretches out before you. You've found something here, something that can't be easily defined, but that feels like it's always been with you. A quiet peace, a deep connection to the land and to life itself. And as the stars shimmer above, you feel a quiet certainty that this, too, is enough. The stars twinkle brightly above you, their steady light guiding your thoughts toward a quiet realization. The farm, the work, the rhythm of life. It has become more than just a temporary respite. In these simple days, amid the soft light of the fire, the hum of the cows, and the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat, you've discovered a peace that feels as though it's been with you all along, waiting patiently to be found. The night is fully upon you now, and the farmhouse seems to glow softly against the dark backdrop of the earth. The familiar sounds of the wind rustling the trees, the distant rush of the river, and the quiet murmur of the barn lull you into a state of quiet contentment. The modern world, its noise, its rush, its constant demands, feels like a distant memory, something that once had weight but now fades into the background of your life. Inside, the man and woman have long since retired for the night, but you remain outside for a while longer. The world around you is vast, open, and unbroken. You stand still for a moment, taking in the silence of it all. The landscape stretches in every direction, the soft light of the stars above the only reminder of how small you are in the grandness of it all. The work isn't finished, but there's a sense of completeness to it now. The day has been full of simple tasks, gathering hay, milking cows, churning butter, but with each act, each movement, you felt yourself becoming more attuned to the rhythm of the land. There is no need to rush here, no desire for the constant noise of achievement. Everything has its time, its place. And in that steadiness, there is an almost overwhelming peace. You breathe in the cool night air, the scent of grass and earth mingling with the faint, sweet fragrance of the night flowers blooming near the barn. The sounds of the farm, distant, gentle, become a part of you, and for a moment, you feel like you are no longer separate from it. You are a part of this land, as much as the cows in the barn, the soil beneath your feet, the river flowing through the fields. Turning toward the farmhouse, you begin to make your way back inside. The fire still burns low, casting a soft, flickering light across the room. The familiar scent of wood smoke and the warmth of the hearth invite you back into the quiet embrace of the farmhouse. The man and woman are already asleep, their steady breathing a reminder of the peaceful rhythms they've lived with for so long. You settle into your bed, the blankets warm and comforting around you. The night outside is quiet, and the house seems to hum with its own gentle rhythm. You close your eyes, the soft crackling of the fire and the distant sounds of the farm lulling you into a sense of quiet contentment. Tomorrow will come, of course. The work will continue. There will always be more to do, more hay to gather, more cheese to make, more cows to care for. But for tonight, there is nothing to worry about, nothing to rush toward. In this moment, you are at peace. The world is vast, and yet, in this small corner of it, you found a sense of belonging. You found a rhythm, a purpose, and a deep connection to the land, to the work, and to the people who have made this place their home. In this quiet life, there is a beauty that is often overlooked, a beauty in simplicity, in the steady, unwavering care that life here demands. As your eyelids flutter closed, you smile to yourself, knowing that tomorrow will bring more of the same. More quiet work, more peaceful moments, and more of the deep, grounding rhythm that has become your world. End of script. Sweet dreams.